Call the school committee meeting to order. Please stand. Ms. Cragen, lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
For which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, no student reports? Whoa. Oh, okay. School committee chair report, nothing right now. Resource committee?
Resource Committee, we met the other afternoon. We approved our drafts of the May 2nd meeting. We discussed the grants to be submitted tonight, which will be on tonight's agenda. And we anticipated summer grant submission, which a number are on tonight for agenda. We discussed the school choice requests that were tabled from last week, and the committee agreed, voted in favor of the school choice. We have two grants that we're going to take, a Unitil grant and a donation by FATV are on for tonight. There were no line item transfers. Mr. Joke was going to give an enrollment update on the NESDEC, and that was it.
All right. Any questions or comments from the committee members? Seeing none, moving on. Policy committee?
We had a meeting, Mrs. Reynolds and myself were there. We talked about two policies that are really in process. One is the student restraint policy. The other one has to do with meeting protocols. So I've got a call in to Glenn Kuchar of MASC, and I know he'll get back to me. So as fall comes along, we'll be addressing those two issues. But yeah, it's good. I think we have averaged at least a meeting like every 6 weeks for policy so far this year.
Good.
So that's pretty good.
How are we on updating? I mean, the book is that thick, and I don't know how you're ever going to get through it
Can't.
in a next four-year election, but
Yeah.
you guys are doing a great job updating some things that haven't been done in years.
Thank you, Mr. Stevens. It's not just the updating, it's also realizing that the policy in this section connects to the policy in another section, and then one even further away. So we actually have the guru in the room, which is Patty Pickards, and of course Paula Giaquinto, and couldn't do it without their help. School committee policy is probably one of the first things that the colonials did once they landed here and built the church that became the meeting house. So we take this with a lot of respect and restraint.
Would you continue to send Ms. G the dates that we'll be doing policy?
If
Just
she
in
would,
case she's interested in coming in.
if Ms. Giaquinto would like to receive those dates, you can absolutely bet, yes.
Any other questions? Seeing none, student support. Well, Ms. LaBelle Pierce is not here, so we'll move on to school personnel.
We're going to have an executive session tonight on
Right.
school personnel.
Right. We'll be talking about personnel matters,
Yeah.
so only to return to finish business and then adjourn, right?
Yep.
Right.
Executive committee. Nothing to report. Student report. School's out today. They're home or out, having
I
fun.
hope they're out having fun.
Having fun. Enjoy the summer.
Yes.
Approve the minutes from the previous school committee of June 3rd, 2019.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? It's unanimous. Mr. Superintendent, we wanted to go into executive session, or do we have, why don't we do communications first, and then we'll go into exec, right? For discussion of personnel matters. So communications. Ms. Cragen.
Thank you. Couple of things before we get on to another couple of things. First is DPW Day. I want to thank the mayor for coming to Reed. We have an original book about, inspired by the Department of Public Works, The Amazing Adventures of C.C. Sewercam. And this was illustrated by Catherine Swanty, written by myself. And I know as of tonight, it will be the May Beginner Bookworm at Fitchburg Public Library, which is, I know, a whole new initiative. And there will be a sequel to this, Mr. Mayor. So we're not sure what C.C. Sewercam will be up to, but you will have a second opportunity.
I'm in. If I'm still doing this, I'm in.
Oh,
Voters allow me to. It's November's election, you know.
well,
Hopefully I'll be around.
I hope so too, and I'm knocking wood, because you did a superb job reading the other day.
It was a lot
with
of fun.
Thank you. It was great, and again, this book is written for young children and to help them understand public works. So we've got a presentation, and if we can ask our wonderfully devoted secretary to receive flowers and a card. Judy.
Judy,
This is for
greetings.
you.
Oh, my goodness. Hey.
Yay! So,
Thank you very much.
you are very welcome.
Thank you.
Kind of you. Hey, well, we appreciate.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Yes.
And
Thank you, Judy.
we'll see you in September. Right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Good. See you in September.
After you finish tonight's minutes meeting.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's right. So our second presentation is to honor someone whose roles probably fill a ledger, the roles she has played in the city and in the schools. And I know that we've been doing a lot of celebrating of Paula, and all I have to say is this. I understand she has to retire, but that doesn't mean she has to leave.
Right.
Because Paula, you have been integral to all of us being good school committee people and understanding our roles and responsibilities. And I'll turn it over to my colleagues here because I don't want to cry.
Baseball.
Yeah, that's right.
I said my goodbyes last week.
Yeah.
But it's not, it's so long.
Yeah.
That's all.
It's well-deserved, and being new on the school committee, it was nice to know that if I had questions that I might be embarrassed to ask out in public, I could go to Paula and say, can you please explain what this is?
Yeah.
And I knew that I would get the correct answer. And it's, I forget exactly how many years, but you've been an integral part, as Sally said, to the schools, the school district, and your shoes will be tough ones to fill.
I got you in the speed dial. Your cell is not changing, right?
It is now.
I just have to take your work number out, but that won't be for a while. You're in this, yeah.
I just want to thank you, Paula, for being a friend and a colleague and a co-worker all these years, and always appreciated your help, especially when I need a little help as principal, and you were principal, I could always count on you for that little extra help, so thank you, Paula.
It's been a real honor to be able to serve the community, so. work
Nobody
with
said
great
it, Dave.
people.
47 years? 46 years. Yeah.
Well,
Unbelievable.
Longer than most people have been alive.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
Yes.
well, these
Oh, yeah.
these are for you. They
thank
were
you.
Bonus and Davin, and Patty did the.
Those are lovely.
They're beautiful.
All right, and I believe we have some chocolate-covered strawberries for breakfast.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you don't like those, right?
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Can we get a picture of all of us?
Sure.
All
With
right.
or without the flowers?
Well, with the flowers.
Oh, with the flowers, okay.
Here, we can.
Okay. Someplace
Patty,
where
take
it's.
one with mine, would you? Where we going? Do we want to go here?
Yeah,
Thank you.
just somewhere where it's, the background is a little tidier than
Okay.
like
Patty.
random
Right.
computer
Patty,
bags.
come on in. What is that? Schmutz? I used to
Okay.
have
Okay. Patty first, go. Okay. Smile.
Yeah, good, huh?
So is this the last one, Paul?
Oh, you done? Yeah.
One more.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Patty.
Thank you.
Thank you, you guys. This is very nice. Oh, my gosh.
It's not mine.
That looks
Thank
like
you.
mine, I think.
See Sue and Pam, I love it. What are you doing with that cake?
I believe we are
Patty
going
gonna
to.
slice it up and pass it around?
Oh, man.
That one.
I have one communication I want to make too, once we're done here.
No, it's a great community.
It is.
It really is.
It is.
Yeah?
The
Yep.
people are, in my word, regular. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, they really are. They love their kids, they want what's best.
Yep.
Yep.
You have to figure out how to help when they need help and how to get out of their way when they're ready to go. We have great programs. I have the pleasure of working with people like Eva and Kathleen and Callie and Ariel and Bob and Andre. I mean, great people in the school department.
I agree.
It's been a real joy.
Well, you've pushed us forward. I mean, you've really pushed us into a lot of work that needed to be done, but also a lot of appreciation of who lives in Fitchburg, and for someone who, you know, your experience spans these different every 10-year census cycle, which we'll talk about later. You know, we're really lucky. So, like I said, you can retire, but you don't have to leave.
That's a deal.
Good.
You all done, Sally?
I'm all set.
I have one communication, this was in our packet. The Fitchburg Youth Library, their 2019 summer reading program begins. It's a collaboration between the library, Fitchburg Public Schools, Strengthening Families, and the Friends of the Fitchburg Public Library. And the kickoff party is going to be Thursday, June 27th, which would be next week, from 4 to 6 p.m. in the youth library. So it's a great program. Copies of the pamphlet are available at the library. A lot of activities every day, provides lunch as well. It's a great program. And again, it's a nice collaboration between the school district and the library to provide activities for our students during the summer months. Thank you.
Thank you, Jabe. Thank you.
What do we need?
Any reason there are two forks?
You're a two-fisted eater, I was
I
told.
guess.
Okay.
All right. Ooh, this is bad. This is bad.
Before I go into executive session, maybe you can
Wait a
do
minute.
public comment and then go into executive session.
No,
Does that make sense?
All right.
Actually, I've got one more communication, which
Go ahead.
is Be Positive therapy pets are going to be at Fitchburg Public Library, not once a month on the first Saturday, but actually twice a month. So, yeah, really exciting. Cheryl McGee-Stewart, who is on the Human Rights Commission, took over the kind of the directing of the therapy pets at the library, and we will be there twice a month helping kids read. And very grateful to have this opportunity in collaboration with the library. And so kids can keep reading right through when they come back to school.
We're going to, I don't believe there isn't anyone from the public, but we're now in the public comment period. 5-minute limit. If you'll go to the center table, identify yourself and your address. Seeing none, go back to eating cake.
Thank you.
Okay, where'd you get the cake?
This is wonderful cake.
It was good. Patty, where'd you get the
Make a
cake?
motion to go into?
Yeah, you want to do that?
Yeah, but
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
make a motion for us to move into executive session?
Second?
Motion made second.
Do we need to do a roll call vote, Judy?
Yeah, we do, right?
Okay. I guess we'll start with Ms. Cragen and Mr. Stevens
Yes.
and Mr. Walsh
Yes.
and Mayor Di Natale.
Yes.
So that's the quorum, and that's who's here.
Okay.
Okay.
We now moving to executive session, only to return to complete the agenda and move toward adjournment.
What our efforts are. Eva has been talking with Clear Channel about billboards. So tonight she's going to give a summary of what our billboard initiative is, along with a summary of the steps and actions that we have taken so far and other steps that we will be taking. So,
Okay.
having said that,
So, again, as Mr. Jokla said, we have been focusing on this all year, the whole district, all the administrators, school staff, and as you can see, this is a chart of our chronic absentee rates beginning in 2017 till today. Today is the green end of year as of today, so you can see how much we've been addressing this. It's dropped off quite a bit. I spoke with Eileen Spinney, the Director of Technology, and she feels like this might indicate that we'd be meeting our reduction in chronic attendance issues this coming fall. So these numbers go right into the state today. Do you guys have questions about that?
Well, that looks good.
That looks great, doesn't it?
Yes.
Every
yes.
school saw a reduction, significant. And this is just by what they're already doing at the schools. This is not the only thing, what I'm presenting tonight is not the only piece, it's just one of many. Okay?
Great.
So as I said, school level administrators have been focusing on this. The school committee policy subcommittee reviewed the attendance policy. We reissued that again this year. Superintendent Jokla reviewed the calendar and in collaboration with the parents and FTA developed changes in the calendar and reduced the half-days, which are difficult for parents because students are being released midday. A lot of parents are at work and don't have the ability to either pick them up or get them home or someone to be home. So I've also been doing some parent outreach on this. I had a couple meetings in April for our kindergarten registration month and talked about attendance and how important that is. I showed them a video from Attendance Works and also talked about it at the middle school presentation for 4th to 5th grade parents.
So, Ms. Kelly, let me ask you this. Is it the old, I'm going to show my age here, it's not kids playing hooky. You know,
No.
they leave and go to school, parents go off to work, they think the child's in school and they're not. This is the parents knowing full well that they're keeping them home. Some of the younger kids? Is that the way it works?
So chronic absenteeism would be missing at least 2 days of school a month, so 18
Month.
days a year.
Okay.
So if for younger students, I would assume someone's home with them. I'm hoping.
Right, I see what
Someone's
you,
home.
yeah, of course.
But the older students, they could leave for school and not show up.
Not show up, right.
Yeah, so not necessarily
It's
everyone.
only 2 days, huh? A month?
2 days a month, but it's 10% of the school
10%
year.
of the days they're
School year.
members. So if someone moves in January, it's not 2 days a month. It's 10% of the days from January to June.
Okay.
So for some
It's
kids,
the
it would be a
state-
lower
statewide.
number.
So it's 18 days for the beginning of the school
the-
year.
If you're from the beginning of the school year, yeah.
Adds up.
Yeah,
So,
month is not,
so just to put it in context, when we had the 10 early release days,
yeah.
Right.
if one student was out 10 of those days, or a lot of students are out 10 of those days, they're already more than halfway there.
over 5% already.
Then we add on the weather in the winter and
Right,
rain,
right.
And flu.
Okay.
flu.
Well, yeah, legitimate,
Yeah.
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 Okay.
And the weather, especially when we have early release, like if parents are worried about their kids being released midday, who's going to be home?
Right.
So maybe they just tell them to stay
I'll
home.
let you continue, because I got a few.
Just a quick, what you said
Yeah.
about half-days was an issue for children.
Well, that's just one of the things
One
we're
of them.
looking at, yeah.
But then also, like you just said, if there's early release or delayed opening, is that also an issue where children,
Yes.
It's a
Delayed-
difficult,
delayed
it's
openings,
difficult,
Our
yeah.
attendance takes
Yeah.
a hit.
Okay.
thank you.
So we're going to have information in our welcome packet starting in September because I wanted it to mirror what we're doing out in the community what we're putting in the packet. So we're going to start that in September. We're also going to have school posters that are going to mirror our message out in the community in the fall. And I'll be, again, working with community groups and the social service agencies to talk to them about really what chronic attendance is and how we can address that with our families and how they can support the families. So the program is to have 2 billboards in the city for 6 months and 4-week cycles. The poster will be 10 feet by 22 feet. You know, it's on a regular, I'm going to show you some samples.
What's the cost for those? Those aren't cheap.
Okay, hold on. Just
Okay. No, I know, because I looked into it.
let me show you first.
All right,
And then
okay.
you'll say, oh, that's no big deal.
All right. Okay. No, but also, 6 months, a long time.
Well,
That's
yeah,
great.
okay.
No, I think it's great.
Wonderful.
So there'll be 2 posters, are going to be 3 different designs, so they're going to look different as we go through the year, but it's going to be the same message, addressing attendance. The information will be in English and Spanish, and it'll be in 2 locations. So this is one example of what we sent to Clear Channel for them to take a look at, you know, for them to start thinking, for parents to start thinking about schools. Just the image of the school bus is going to get people thinking about school. We're going to, again, address the attendance, because I don't think parents realize how 2 days can add up like that across, you know, across the year. We'd like this maybe in this closer to January when we're thinking about graduation. That's an image of our students from this past year that
Yeah.
Mr. Roach sent me. Here's another one that I sent. We sent several different ideas to Clear Channel to take a look at, and these taglines come from the administrators.
Yep.
I like this one, too. But anyway, see, so now you don't even care how much it costs, right? So, okay, let me show you a map of where these are in the city, if you want. I just thought I'd show you. So right now, he had given us 2 spots, like right here and here, but I asked him to see if maybe we could have a spot a little further away, so that when parents are driving through the city, they'll see the same message again.
How
and
many,
it'll-
3? Or
We're going to have 3 different posters through the year. So starting in August, we'll have like a school bus
What did I
one.
see? River Street?
Yeah, so what he gave me right now was River and Wallace, and then Route 2 and Simon Street, but I thought those were a little close together. So I asked him to look at what's available again
Okay.
for the,
I know where that is.
so.
Okay, okay.
And I also wanted to share this website with you. This Attendance Works website, they have amazing resources to get the word out to parents, working with parents, videos, presentations to like a school committee or a city council. And we've been using a lot of the research and material that they've already done to help get this word out.
And this is
Great.
school department funds?
Yes.
Yeah,
It's funny, there's not a grant or anything like that?
no.
School.
Yeah, do they have that available, like DESI or someone that,
Grants for
or
addressing
for this kind of thing?
attendance?
How do you, deal with attendance issues? or-
Well, when it's a good question. The Title IV grant, depending on the amount of money, has 4 different categories that you can, it's very prescriptive about those 4 categories. But one of the categories is around educating the whole child. And I don't know if this is allowable, so I can check. It depends on, one year, Title 4A was very small. Last year, it was much bigger, but we needed it in the other grants. We flexed some of it. So this year, it depends when the amount, the allocation comes out. But in theory, if it's an allowable expense,
Yeah.
And the
So-
parent outreach
LS.
would be covered under Title I
correct.
piece.
That's what I was
So
thinking.
Title IV,
Title I outreach, yeah.
right, but last year, the Title I grant was cut about $180,000.
Really?
Yeah, it was a big,
Okay.
big, that whole 95%.
What is that? Is that Fed?
Yes.
It's Fed, right?
Yeah, so
Okay.
if you use part of that, you have to make it up
Right,
from
okay.
another source, yeah. yeah.
Do you guys
Okay.
have any questions?
So I guess maybe just to add on what you mentioned, when people come into the enrollment center now,
Oh, right.
they, as part of their enrollment packet, they're receiving literature on chronic absenteeism and what it means in both English and in Spanish. So people are aware that chronic absenteeism can add up pretty quickly.
So what happens if it becomes a real problem? You've got a kid that's
So,
not showing up.
so different schools, they
Yeah.
have all different things they're doing. Some are incentivizing being at school. Some are offering, to be in raffles, to win prizes at the end of a semester or the end of the year. Some of the schools have set up a system where they're bringing someone from DCF and a social service agency into the school to meet with parents when their attendance becomes
Well, that's what I was thinking.
chronic. Yeah. And
Okay.
I know that the guidance counselors are, in contact with parents all the time around attendance issues. As they continue to, as their attendance absences continue to rise, they start calling the parents in or phoning them to talk about what's going on.
All right.
Did you do a study on delayed opening for attendance?
I didn't
Oh, yeah.
personally.
It's not good.
It's not good.
So is that something we should probably look at? Don't have delayed openings and,
Well, I'll say this in a comparing and contrasting way. This past winter, I think every time there was a snowstorm, or almost every time, Worcester canceled schools. Now, when we were looking at different peer communities, Worcester's chronic absenteeism numbers were substantially less, but one way to get there is that, to just cancel school instead of having these delays. Now, again, this year, even with the small number of snowstorms, they were going later on into the year. So there's a trade-off.
Yeah.
yeah.
And,
Okay.
yeah, it's something that, we always try to make sure we can have school, but there is an impact for sure.
If a student misses 2 days a month every month, that would be roughly 20 days. What's the number of absences that would require a student to stay back in a grade, or is there? Do we have there is none? None, okay.
As a matter of fact, what you try to do is support, especially at the high school, credit recovery programs.
Okay.
So that the kids will come in and go to school on Saturdays, or with the one-to-one computer, they'll do online work.
Okay.
Because there could be, somebody breaks their leg. I mean, there's a confusion with this between excused and unexcused.
Okay.
We still ask for that, but according to the state criteria, chronic absenteeism, whether, regardless of is excused or unexcused, you hit that 10% mark and it's chronic.
Gotcha.
Well, if they go on Saturday, can they make up a day?
They can't because it's not part of the official calendar, but
Okay.
they make up the credit.
Just the credit, but it can't be, if you're out 10 days and go on 2 Saturdays, they can't be absent 8 days, yeah. So it counts.
But the ethical thing is to
Yeah.
provide credit recovery,
Yeah, yeah.
even if it doesn't meet this issue.
And they are doing that at the high
Yeah.
school.
Yeah.
And I guess one of the important points, and I think we've talked about it before, is attendance or chronic absenteeism is part of our accountability rating.
Yeah.
And it's worth 10% at the K through 8 level and only 5% at the high school level. Is that right, Paula?
Yeah.
And as Paula said, if it's the amount of time they're attending our school system, so if they are only attending 20 days and they're absent twice, they're considered chronically absent, because that's 10% of that time.
Wow.
Yeah. It's
And
the
we have
time
a-
enrolled with us during the year.
So, yeah.
Okay. Right.
And so I guess just the next steps too, in addition to tonight, July is it 16th, at the city council, I'll also be
Right.
sharing this Clear Channel information, the initiatives, because you'll see it at least 2 billboards, and
You think
to further
Clear-
educate the public.
Clear Channel at that time would be able to give you an actual rendition of what it's going to look
I
like?
hope so.
No, actually show the
They were
billboard
waiting,
with the,
we're signing the contract July 1st,
Yeah, so this will be next year's,
so I might
funds.
have it by then. I did try to persuade him to send it to me, even though we couldn't sign the contract yet. But I'm hoping to have it. It's the 16th, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So hopefully,
Yeah, it's just, you know,
it'd be nicer to
it's
see
a
it.
nicer
yeah.
impact, more, yeah.
And we're working on making videos for our website to welcome parents more into the schools at Mr. Jokler's request of the Enrollment Center, so.
Good.
Well, and in addition to the Enrollment
In
Center,
addition.
all the schools, you know, as we have, we'll have 6 new principals, they'll each be making a customized message. But even Fitchburg
great.
High, from a competitive standpoint now, the web is going more interactive, and, you know, one of the more popular social media sites that students are connecting with is Instagram. So, you know, a little 2-minute video is what our principals will be putting together. So.
All right.
One thing about enrollment centers are excellent. The people who work there are very good with the people coming in and being helpful. And I think that's very important, because I know over the years, not all schools were accepting of helping parents, and I think the enrollment center has done a great job.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say that
Put
the
yours up.
billboard is, I'm speechless with how fantastic this is. A billboard is for everyone, and a billboard with great big letters like that can be read by very young children, and the reinforcement of that billboard as people go by and back and forth and back and forth, I'm really excited about this. I'm so glad. It was a missing piece, and who knew? So thank you so much. Thank you. This is great.
You know, Sally, it's not just the parents who will see it, but it's going to be the grandparents and the aunts and uncles and
everybody.
friends who are going to say, hey, Pete, school's starting, you know, are your kids ready, you know? So I think that's a big thing. It's not just the parents, it's who's else going to be telling them.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Eva.
So, next on the agenda, just wait for, there we go. So just, next on the agenda is the update on enrollment projections. As we're going through the MSBA feasibility study on the Crocker project, it became clear that our growth numbers weren't aligning with the original projection that was submitted the year before. And when we had NESDEC come back and perform their report, Eva, through the Enrollment Center, worked very closely providing them current information and also how that information would be flowing through our system. And in addition, NESDEC also spoke to local realtors, the city planning department, to find out what was driving the growth within the community. So Fitchburg is actually one of the few districts in the Northeast, and actually, according to Don Kennedy, in the upper 2% of districts whose enrollment is growing. As you can see, just from, this is the third slide. This is actually a condensed version of your handout, but on your handout, it is slide number 6. From October to now, the enrollment has increased 105 students. Okay, so as more development happens, and given Fitchburg's housing stock affordability and the type of housing stock, that number has increased over last year. And when I presented the budget, some of the staffing decisions that we made were to accommodate the enrollment growth, especially as they're flowing through the middle school grades. I don't know where the numbers disappeared on this graph here, but so what we have here is really the just if you go to slide 7, the K through 12 historical enrollment for the district. It bottomed out at about 4738 in 2010, after the economic crash. And this is just K through 12, that does not include pre-K, because when MSBA considers a project, they do not look at the pre-K enrollment in their planning, but they do when a project is built from a space perspective. So you can see that we've rebounded 200 students from that low as of the October 2018 numbers. And as we look at how the grades flow through, the grade sizes are in the 426 through 444 range, consistently through grade 7 over the next few years. And if I can just have you go to slide 12. It's the Fitchburg additional data chart. And this is based on the students enrolled in other districts, information that we have, which is voluntary, but also looking at students who are homeschooled, choice out, and attend charter schools. This is another important piece of information for planning. So this information in terms of the school choice out was presented in the budget. We have about 472 choicing out. Currently, about 218 attend charter. Approximately 130 students are school choice. And based on voluntary information, we have about 308 students who live in Fitchburg who either attend independent or parochial schools. And again, on the lower right-hand corner, we also have the school choice in number at about 192 students, and our students who have special education plans which require them to attend out-of-district schools, we have about 148. So tomorrow we have a Crocker School Building Committee meeting, and as part of that meeting, and as part of the feasibility study process, MSBA asked us to have NESDEC come back and look at our enrollment, because what we were reporting, they wanted to have if an independent firm either confirm and expand on the underlying reasons for that. So NESDEC has completed their report. This report will be shared with the school building subcommittee, or Crocker School Building Committee, tomorrow. In addition, MSBA also asked us to look at the current capacity of our schools, which was separate from this NESDEC report. And over the last month or two, Eileen Spinney, our Director of Technology, has worked with her staff and the various schools to look at finding additional space. I'm just going to go back to my seat. And looking at our K through 4 schools, which are Crocker, Rheingold, South Street, and just those 3 schools, we feel that there are 6 additional rooms that can accommodate up to 150 students. That's assuming 25 students per classroom. You don't have this information that I'm telling you right now. And then at our K through 8 and middle school level, or our 5 through 8 level, we have about 10 classrooms that, again, at 25 per class, could handle 250 students. So we think we have enough capacity to accommodate the enrollment increases for the next 5 years. There's always something that could happen one way or the other, but based on the projections, I think we're looking pretty good. I'm going to pause. You've been part of the conversations. I don't know if there's anything else you want to add.
One of the MSBA, fine points, they don't include the preschool students in the numbers, but at some point, the conversation does include space for the preschools. It's not the classroom count isn't in all of that visioning work, but I think we start the year, because students are eligible for preschool on their 3rd birthday if they have a diagnosed disability, and that happens all year. So in the fall, we may start the year with 139 preschoolers, but by this time, we're up to, is it 200?
200, over
We're
200.
over 200. So that, it's not like a little preschool for 10 kids. It's, our preschool numbers are significant. So, and we run an integrated preschool program where we actually have a percentage of every preschool are regularly developing peers, so the kids have good role models and playmates. So that adds to our population, but it may not show up on the NESDEC charts related to the Crocker project, because the MSBA doesn't consider that whole preschool enrollment. Yeah, I don't understand why. They're a K-12 system.
And one thing I think that's different from the last time that NESDEC completed their enrollment projection 3 years ago now, was the last two slides of the handout that you have, really showing the growth in English language learners that is projected across all the states in New England. And lastly, the number of students who are living with grandparents, and where grandparents are also the primary guardian of the students. That information wasn't included 3 years ago, and NESDEC did look at that component as they were preparing this revised projection.
And just to kind of piggyback to what the superintendent is saying, so when NESDEC originally did their enrollment projections 3 years ago, it's very scientific and it's great work, and it looks at very traditional birth data, census data, all the traditional sources that establish how many young people are going to be living in your community and moving through the system. What we talked about internally, which I think is demonstrated in this report, we have a number of what could be non-traditional data sets or data points for how many children live in this community and need a seat in a classroom in a school. So a regular, a more traditional data source wouldn't include the grandparents raising children. Those 321 students need seats in classrooms, but it's not going to show up on a birth rate. The same with the students who, the churn rate. At one point, we were talking to the gentleman who did put some of this data. Eva did a great job, and we worked with him. And we had to say, you know, if 500 kids come and go, it means that during some point of the year, all 500 of them are sitting in seats in classrooms. It's not like I left this week and Sally moved in next. We could both be in the same room at the same time with coming and going, so that it's not as clean and discrete as some of the algorithms from a more traditional route.
One thing I found interesting last Friday at Rheingold Elementary School, Adam asked all the fourth graders who had been in our school system since, remember since kindergarten?
Yeah.
At least 90 or 95% of the kids stood up. You know?
That's not true in our other schools, Pete.
Yeah, well, I'm just,
Transient, right?
Yeah.
A year, 2 years, 6 months, whatever.
Well,
Right.
about 25% of our
Men
school turns
go.
over.
Yeah.
but it was something to see the number of kids that are going there that have been there since the beginning and staying there.
So what's the sociological reason for all this? I mean, this transient, this wasn't a factor 40 years ago, 50 years ago, right?
Housing stock.
People come in, they stay put, right? Or they're born
But you
here and they
look
stay.
at the housing stock, the West Fitchburg housing stock, there is still a large proportion of single-family housing, like Upper Clegoet.
Right.
There are other parts of the city. I mean, Sally mentioned at one of the meetings that 50% of the housing are rental units.
Right.
Page 32 actually has that in detail.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we have fewer renter-occupied units as of 2010 from 2000, but look at that difference. Owner occupied is 8,191, but then we still have 69,074 renter occupied. And there's no way of saying how many families are doubling up, how many children are living with someone who's not their immediate,
Right.
you know, parent. I want to go work for the census.
Yeah, really.
So it's, and then I think the economy is, I mean,
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
Fitchburg is looking very attractive as a place to buy property because commuter rail is available and access to
That's what
community,
we're-
Worcester, Boston,
That's what we're hoping.
yeah,
Yep,
so
okay.
that's all good.
You know, I think, like, my first year teaching, I had 41 students in my classroom, and I ended with 40, and unfortunately, I lost a little girl, Connie St. Armand, passed away at Christmas time, and I finished with the same
Exact
kids
same.
I started with. There was no turnover.
Right. Okay.
Okay. Moving on for budget items, tonight we have a donation from FATV
great.
for a new public address sound system to be installed at Crocker Field with an approximate dollar value of $20,000. Also, on the action item listing for tonight are a number of grants that we're submitting, that we anticipate submitting over the summer, entitlement grants, Title I, 2A, 3, 4, the Extended Learning Time Grant over at Longsjo, 21st Century at Longsjo Memorial, Crocker South Street and Rheingold, the PL 94-142, which is for special education, and Perkins. Again, they're all asterisks here, which indicate that those are based on this year's amounts. We don't have those amounts yet. Just kind of going back to the submittal of the grants, we have the McKinney-Vento Emergency Needs Grant, which for $9,500, which helps provide support to students who were impacted by the hurricanes. Unitil, we are applying for a $20,000 grant from Unitil, and tonight there's also a corresponding action item to dedicate $20,000 of school choice funds to upgrade the insulation at Fitchburg High School. So this is to cover areas where there is no insulation, and this is a great risk management initiative, partially funded by Unitil. And lastly, the Healthy Schools Grant for $10,000, support districts improve health and educational outcomes. And lastly, to accept grants, one is the Universal Service Administration Company, which is basically the E-rate funds. That's 85% reimbursement. Total cost by the taxes paid on everybody's cell phone bills goes back to a fund for public schools and libraries. And then there's the School Redesign Grant that we were approved for by DESE, and that was a comprehensive application and presentation with Sally representing the school committee, Paula, myself, Felicia, and Roanne from special education, along with Brittany Lavoie, the assistant principal, Sean Walker, Dee Brito, and Lindsay Wheeler. And we were led to believe that we wouldn't receive 100% of our applied for amount, and I think we set the bar very high for them, and we were approved for 100% of our application.
And I'd just like to say, just so people at home know what that amount is, it's a 3-year grant totaling $936,999. I think it says a lot for what the team did to not only put everything together, but to present it and be that successful. So thank you very much.
Yep, and again, it was a total team effort and as a result of a lot of hard work and collaboration.
Just a note, the last action item, 19 dash, I believe that should be 1202.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
112, little typo there.
Yep.
One
Okay.
additional one, okay. Are we gonna
And,
bundle?
Yep, so
Yeah.
then,
can
just
bundle
lastly,
Yeah.
the, as Mr. Stevens mentioned, at the last school committee meeting, we had the individual school choice line items for next year included. We tabled them from last meeting. We brought them to resource subcommittee meeting, approved them at resource subcommittee, and now they've come back here tonight for the
Okay,
formal approval.
okay. Do
We're
I
gonna
hear-
bundle.
Make a motion to bundle action items 19-1182 up through and including 19-1202.
Make a motion?
My
Second.
motion made and second to accept. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, it is unanimous. Okay.
Make a motion to adjourn?
Second?
Motion made and seconded to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, it is unanimous. We are adjourned.
Great report, this is great.